Hey there, Heather. Ho there. Chef Cutter Dobby welcome you to another Degrassisms poll. And this one is about the class of 2006, who your favorite character was. So the Degrassi Reddit community helped me figure out uh, who the best character of season of the graduating class of 2006 is. This is the Paige class, if you will. This is not the Emma class. That's the next one. That was 2007. So I had to go through a couple of tie breaks and a couple of videos, posts about, who your favorite male and female characters were, because I intended to have the top three male and the top three females be in the top six. Of course, Reddit only gives you six options instead of more for a poll, so I had to go with that. So I got two honorable mentions. Well, 7 and 8. So number 8 is Craig. In one of my famous Degrassi unpopular opinions, I put Craig as very overrated because, his relationships, he has issues with. He doesn't treat Joey like a dad, a father figure. He just serial cheats on every girl, and, strange. But yeah, Craig was introduced in season 2. He wasn't even introduced in season 1 like the others. Season 2 was introduced as someone who was following Angie, aka Joey's daughter, around, and people were like, what the heck's going on? We find out that Craig has an abusive father who beats him up for little reasoning, and that Craig is trying to get away from him. Joey's upset that Craig is being with Angie and then wants to know why Craig has this connection. And then after Craig plays chicken with a train, Sean tells Joey these things, and Emma says something wrong with Craig, and it was his dad that's the problem. Even Angie pipes in. So then we find out that Joey's dead wife, Julia, was actually Craig's mother, because Julia left Craig and Albert for Joey. And Albert, I think, beats up Craig as a way of getting frustration out over Julia leaving him. So poor Craig and all that. So yeah, Craig gets introduced. Craig lives with Joey for a while. His dad comes back in his life to try to get him back, but Craig's dad doesn't change his stripes. And then he dies in an accident off camera. Craig's happy that his tormentor's dead, but he is also racked with feelings of weirdness. We soon learn that it is definitely weird. But Craig, in season 3 has that triangle with Manny and Ashley, gets Manny pregnant. Ashley wants to destroy Craig, and so she should. And then all of a sudden, Craig wins Ashley back by some sappy song. Man. And it looks like Craig, when he gets his inheritance from his dad, doesn't want to help Joey out. But, Craig buys a guitar. But Craig also, I think, wants to give money to Joey because, Joey should have went to ask him. Anyway, so Craig was just this music character and all that who does well in the scene, but then has a drug problem and goes back to Calgary allegedly to be with Joey. So, yeah, kind of weird. Number 7 is Terry. I don't know why Terry never got to be the top part of the top 3 females on this list. But anyway, yeah, Terry was introduced in season 1 as a plus-size girl who had insecurities about herself with boys and all that. First few seasons, she's just basically Paige's sidekick, in a sense, and turns on Ashley when, turns on Ashley in season 2. Terry does have a subplot dealing with her weight and getting money because she's a plus size bottle and waving it at a young ice cream vendor. But yeah, Terry had an insecurity. Season 3, she came to find a boyfriend, and that was Rick. And we didn't know that Rick was abuser, so he abuses Terry physically and mentally and all that. Yeah, like he pushes her against the wall. And then they break up, and then for some strange reason, Terry goes back to Rick because I guess she wanted to have a boyfriend because Paige and Spinner, Jimmy with Hazel were going on a road trip. So basically, yeah, Terry is upset when Paige insults Rick and forces him out. Terry tries to talk to Rick. Rick tells Terry not to be anywhere near Paige, Hazel, or anything. People, because, they're poisoning his mind. Her mind. And unfortunately, he puts her in a coma, and Terry gets a few episodes, but then after season 3, she's gone. She's barely mentioned in season 4. She's not even mentioned in season 4. Like, yeah, we know she's going to private school and all that, but that was a deleted scene. And that was the deleted scene where Raj has to explain himself why Rick is back at the school and why Terry's not. So, yeah, that was creepy. And then all of a sudden, Terry's off the show. I think a producer was not happy with Terry's character, which is stupid and all that. Let's also add to the fact that Terry actually has a connection with me. Reason being, we both went to the same high school, almost at the same time. I think she's a few years younger than I am. So, yeah, she graduated, I think, a couple years after I did from high school. And the high school name? Waterloo Oxford District Secondary School in Baden, Ontario. Kind of where I am now. Well, I'm in Kitchener, but anyway. So, yeah, I have a connection. All right, so here's the countdown. The main countdown. Number 6 was Alex. Alex was not introduced in the first few seasons of the show. Season 3, she was. She was part of Jay's Candy Bandits. And spoiler, Jay is not part of the top 6. I would not allow him to be the top male and all that. I think people hate on Jay just as much as I do. I fucking hate that guy. I don't hate Mike Global. I just hate the character. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Which is true. The game is the character. Anyway, so Rick aside. So anyway, so Alex was there as Candy Bandits to get Sean and all that. But then in season 4, she's part of a group to destroy. She's in Paige's clique to try to destroy Rick. I mean, Alex was named student council vice president after she tried to be president and wanted to ruin Markle's chances by saying he's gay and all that. But then she decides at the last second not to do that, and she gets named vice president. She's upset that Rick's back at the school, and so she should be. She even tells Emma when she rips up Rick's check, saying that, you don't have to live with abuse like I do. You don't have to ice your mother's sores and cry her to sleep, watch her cry herself to sleep, all that, and be in women's shelters. And then, I think Alex uses that embodiment to basically say that Rick is the embodiment of every guy who hurt her mom. So she pictured Rick as everyone who wanted her mom, who hurt her mom, and then she would get revenge on them. So yeah, so Alex ends up teaming up with Jay and Spitter near the end to paint and feather Rick after Rick refuses to go away and the spray paint and all that, and basically won't cower. So yeah, Alex, with her special privileges as a member of student council, uses her freaking thing to, do the paint and feathers and all that. And of course, she stays within Paige's clique and all that. She doesn't get in trouble for the whole debacle because Spitter and Jay refused to name her. I think Spitter didn't think that it was fair for her to be in trouble. After all, Spitter kind of got Jimmy shot, and Jay might have had a hard on for Alex, which actually failed miserably because Alex got gonorrhea from Jay. So Alex was the placeholder for Spitter and Jay being out of Paige's clique. So Alex and Paige actually got closer together. Well, season 4, when Alex was at the movie theater, and Paige was there too to try to pay for Spinner's car, which she damaged. And so they find an attraction towards each other. And, Alex was pretty good. But in the end, Alex ended up being a shell of herself. She was kind of a lost girl, if you will. She tries to get better by season 6, but she gets into her old habits and, gets in trouble. She strips at a gentleman's club to pay for stuff for her and her mother, but her mother uses the money Alex receives to bail her abusive boyfriend out. And Alex leaves for Ajax, allegedly. All right, so that's her. Number 5 is Jimmy. I was actually shocked that Jimmy didn't get that high up on the list, but yeah, you put Jimmy at number 5. Now, Jimmy was around from the start. He was just this typical jock and all that, taking Spinner's ADD pill to try to improve on basketball. He injures Sean, but, you can't hurt your teammate like that. You can't be a glory hawk. So he was thrown off the basketball team. He decides to beat up Sean because of this whole thing. and that accidentally gets Sean to hurt Emma. So the simple fact is that Emma aside, Jimmy was just this brash athlete and all that who thinks he's an athlete and all that. He gets in a relationship with Ashley, dumps her off because of Ashley taking ecstasy and all that. Jimmy had, not a lot of storylines other than him being a jock, if you ask me. Season 3, he got in trouble for trying to change his grades on a school computer with Toby's help. And then that's where he meets Hazel, and it's a decent relationship between Jimmy and Hazel. Of course, not everyone would have thought, hey, wait a minute. The guy who played Jimmy, Aubrey Graham, that's Drake, the mega god, rap mega god. We didn't know that he would be Drake. He was just Aubrey Graham to us. So anyway, Aubrey Graham's side. Jimmy just had a few storylines. Not a lot of storylines, not a lot of character development and all that. And then, he gets involved in the Rick Murray situation in season 4. Well, he was upset that Rick came back to the school, no strings attached. But he also got involved because when he was put on the Wacky Brain team, the Quiz Bowl team, in place of Heather Sinclair and Hermano, Jimmy, was a tormentor to Rick. He was one of the bullies. And Rick wanted to make that clear. He tried to tell Raj that, but Raj shooed him off. But then Jimmy soon turns on Spinner and his crew when realizing that Rick is being abused every day and that Toby's now going to be the next victim. So he decides to tell them off. And, that makes Spinner and Jay pissed off at him. The simple fact for Spinner and Jay is that they were upset that Jimmy switched sides. And I get that. Of course, Jimmy is told by Spinner about the paint and feathers thing. Spinner brags about it. They have a fight, a literal fight, Spinner and Jimmy, but they both don't go to the principal's office. Weird. But anyway, yeah, Jimmy is an innocent bystander as Spinner and Jay tell Rick that Jimmy was the inside man, and then Jimmy gets shot by Rick. But thankfully, though, Rick had some heart, because if Rick had a heart, didn't have heart, he would have shot Jimmy in the head. But he shot him in the back, and Rick did turn his head. So Jimmy is paralyzed. We don't know if he's going to be alive or not. Thankfully, he is, and then he's in a wheelchair. He comes back to Degrassi, has the fight with Spinner, because Spinner wanted to tell him the truth. And then, Jimmy was upset at Spinner being such a dick. And I would be too. So anyway, Jimmy's in a wheelchair. They try to get some good storylines with him and some character development, including his father, yelling at his father for thinking that, oh, my son's in a wheelchair, he's worthless. And then, trying to walk again and all that. So, yeah, good on him. And of course, Aubrey Graham left the show and became Drake. I didn't think that was going to happen. Anyway, number 4, you put Ellie in. And that's not a bad move. I like Ellie. Ellie was this goth girl introduced in season 2. She was with Marco. It was a decent relationship, but it was soon really revealed that Marco, and yes, he'll be on this list, was using Ellie to try to hide his homosexuality. Ellie refuses to help Marco out after a while. And then in season 3, Ellie gets Ashley to turn golf with her. So anyway, Ellie ends up in season 3 learning that her dad was going to the military to Afghanistan and her mother fell apart without her. So Ellie has had to take care of her mother and herself. She's falling flat. Her co-op duties don't matter to her much anymore. And then she starts using a compass to, make her bleed to get away from the pain. Fortunately, though, Paige does tell Ellie that she needs help and all that. Ellie gets the help she needs and stops being a cutter. Well, she still has the elastic band on her and snaps it because she'll always be a cutter. Ellie had some decent relationships. Well, Ellie and Craig weren't once. Ellie was with Sean in season 3 after they met in detention. In Saturday detention. Well, Ellie was cutting classes and was put in Saturday detention, but she purposely did that to get a news story for her co-op on Sean and all that shit. And, Sean got in trouble for insulting Raj, which I think was a front for, Sean stealing stuff, and Raj didn't approve, so you put him in detention. So, Sean and Ellie become a nice item and all that. But then Ellie is upset when Sean leaves for Wasaga Beach to deal with his PTSD in the wake of the Rick situation and all that. Ellie did tell Sean to open up. So then Ellie is in the apartment by herself. Her mother gets her to move in, saying that she's a better person. Alex even says that Ellie needs to trust her mom. And Ellie's mom was a decent person. And that Ellie just was a little moody. She tried to get a boyfriend, but Caitlin Ryan stole it from her. She gets in an unhealthy relationship with Craig. She even walks into the Pacific Ocean trying to drown herself, but thankfully Marco and Craig save her. And she goes to meet her dad at a veterans hospital. So yeah, she was the emo girl. Number 3, speaking of Marco, that's where you put him. So Marco was introduced in season 2 as this brash guy and all that. He looked nice and all that. He stole a dance contest from Spitter and Jimmy and won tickets to Leaf game, getting lots of girls around him. He looked pretty good, but Marco was hiding a secret. He was gay. He had feelings for Paige's brother, Dylan, and he didn't know how to do it. So he finally blurts out to Spitter that he's gay. Spitter writes homophobic stuff in the bathroom, but Marco gets everyone around him to support him and all that, which is great. Of course, Marco doesn't tell his parents because they're from Italy and Europeans are not really that much towards homosexuality. Old school people. So Marco does, in fact, get Spinner to help him out because Spinner finally realizes he's a bad guy. But Marco in season 4, after being caught by his mom for something, kissing a guy, I think, comes out to her, but not to his dad till season 5. But his dad understands and said that you are who you are. Marco becomes student council president in season 4, having to deal with the Rick situation and all that. Didn't have much input into the story. And then he manages to get the blood drive in trouble because they don't want homosexual blood. So he tries to fight for that, but is upset that Hatzalakos doesn't protect him. So yeah, Marco's fighting his homosexuality and his feelings for Dylan and Tim and all that, but basically he just wanted love in all the right places. But he was just screwing himself over in a sense. Marco becomes a student teacher. Holly J takes advantage of him or attempts to, and then Marco's a decent guy. I mean, he deserved better. And the first major storyline on Canadian TV involving a gay character. I think that Degrassi High had Snake's brother being gay, but he wasn't really a main player. Anyway, number 2, speaking of Spinner, that's where you guys placed him. So Spinner was this coincidental bully, if you will. Season 1, he was always a troublemaker and all that. Just pulling pranks on the cafeteria staff, just doing all that, getting the wrath of Kwan, as in Miss Kwan. And then, he was just a kind of a jerk and all that, just wanting to cause trouble and all that. So then basically season 3 was when he was at his worst, in a sense. He finds out about Marco's homosexuality and writes the graffiti on it on the bathroom wall, and then all of a sudden, everyone attacks Mark Spinner for not being supportive of Marco coming out of the closet. Spinner did have some fears because he was thinking Marco was coming out to him specifically because Marco wants to be with Spinner. And Spinner tries to tell him no way, even though that Marco wasn't going towards Spinner and all that. It got to the point that Spinner was upset. Spinner tried to run away from Marco when Marco was trying to give Spinner CPR because he was thinking that Marco's going to try to do some kind of gay move on him. Spinner finally learned by the end of season 3 to gel with Marco, and he does. Spinner unfortunately has to see Terry's poor body when she got her head hit by that rock thanks to Rick. Spinner and Paige want to go after Rick for what he did to Terry. And Spinner wants to attack Rick for not being near Terry when he sees him the next time. And, he has guilt over, Terry getting hurt. And I get it. But season 4, he was in to get rid of Rick. Okay, no big deal. And then all of a sudden, it was down to him, Jay, and Alex to destroy Rick once and for all, despite the fact that Rick seemed to not go anywhere and no one was helping Spinner and his friends out. So Spinner is upset, rightfully so. He tells everyone off and says, fuck off. So Spinner ends up, you know, being a bully in a sense. He and Jay get Rick's hopes up by saying that everything's cool between us because, saving the school with your smarts and all that. But it was a ruse so that Rick didn't see the painted feathers coming. Spinner tells Jimmy about the painted feathers, bragging about it. What an idiot. And then Spinner realizes he's in trouble. He tells Jay, Raj knows. I mean, when you don't look at that deleted scene, Spinner telling Jay Raj knows, you can kind of figure that because he realized he told Jimmy and Jimmy might narc on him, that he might be in trouble with Raditch. But then in the deleted scene, Raditch hears him make clucking noises to Rick when Rick comes back in his painted feathers outfits from home. With the gun, of course. But anyway, yeah. So Jay owes Spinner one, and then they managed to get Jimmy in trouble with Rick. Although Spinner didn't know that Rick had a gun. Spinner feels guilty and tries to get remorseful, but Jay refuses to let him do that because I guess in a way it would implicate Jay too. Spinner finally blurts out to Jimmy his problems. The school ostracizes him. He gets expelled, rightfully so. I think he had to be expelled and all that because of all the media attention. Spinner almost burns the school because he was wanting to get his credits, and then he was told to go to summer school. But Jay saves him from that fate, and then Spinner in season 5 decides to do a redemption arc to get his friends to talk to him at the very least. So he joins the friendship club. He talks to Darcy. He wants to know why he's such a bad person, and Spinner takes his time. He breaks off with Jay, which is probably just one thing that everyone was happy with. Spinner stands up for Marco in the face of the friendship club, despite the fact that Spinner's in the friendship club. But Spinner was trying his best, and everyone quickly forgave him for everything, and Jimmy started talking to him. So Spinner felt happy. And then he has the testicular cancer in season 7 after fighting off Lakehurst, people who want to hurt poor Tobes. So he goes through cancer problems and all that. He's scared he's going to fail the year because of his treatment, but Hatzaleko says, you already lost a year, you need this treatment, don't worry, you won't get penalized. And Spinner turns himself around, in a sense, and then marries Emma for some unknown reason. It's like, what the hell? And number 1 is Queen Paige, the queen bee of Degrassi. It has Sinclair. Can't help it. But anyway, it is Paige, Michael Chuck. Paige in season 1 was the sassy queen bee. She was the head of the spirit squad who was trying to thwart Emma's chances to destroy the club because it's sexist and anti-feminist. And Paige is like, it's okay. We have boys on our team. That's not the point. Emma was upset over that. But Paige, unfortunately, in season 2 gets raped by Dean. Like, she falls in love with Dean from Bartell, and he rapes her, and then Paige doesn't know what to do and all that. Ashley, in a sense, takes some sick joy in Paige suffering because, Paige kind of forced Hazel and Terry to stop being with Ashley in season 2. I think that was it. I think Paige just used her influence to get rid of Hazel, to make sure Hazel and Terry stay on her side, or else they would be ridiculed. But then again, she has troubles accepting the rape and all that. She does write a song with Dean in the audience, and Dean leaves angrily. Season 3, she's involved in the Terry-Rick dynamic because she was upset that Rick is taking advantage of Terry in a sense, tells Rick that, and then Rick tells Terry not to be with Paige because she's poisoning your mind. Paige, alongside Spinner, finds Terry and tries to care for her. Paige feels guilty about leaving Terry out in the cycle's path. And season 4 was just, Paige getting shit after shit after shit. First of all was her rape trial. It was finally on the stand. It was finally ready to go. Paige wasn't sure she could go through with it because of all the graphic detail, but Spinner tells her, you can't back out now. And then, she says all that. She does well in her testimony, but the judge can't charge Dean because of lack of evidence. And, it was drawn to my attention that, Dean's lawyer was actually shocked that that Dean was found not guilty. I'm actually surprised, but I guess because she learned about Paige's thing, she needed to be sympathetic. But anyhow, Paige is upset that Dean got off scot-free, and he admits to the rape and all that, and thinks that Paige is going after him because Paige still wants revenge for Dean, and Dean thinks that she's fallen for him. Unfortunately, though, Paige is upset and decides to take Spinner's car and crash it into Dean's car to, get payback and all that. Fortunately for Spinner, Paige decides to take the rap, despite Spinner wanting to take the rap, and then tells Dean that I'm going to confess to my crimes. That's what good people do when they do something bad. So Paige ends up working in the movie theater with Alex to try to pay for Spinner's car, and there were some issues. Of course, Paige and Spinner are having issues with themselves, especially with Spinner making goo eyes for Manny. And then to add to Paige's bad year in season 4, Rick's back in the picture. So she wants Rick out and says that nobody cares about Rick at all, and enlists Emma to destroy Rick once and for all, and is upset when Emma turns tail, quote unquote, and all that. So yeah, Paige. I still say Paige used her influence to make Emma persona non grata. I mean, Emma had no friends and no boyfriend, so she was still with the whack Marine team and easily in Rick's fucking path and all that. So then, of course, Paige and Manny have the rivalry with the cheer squad and all that, and then Paige ends up liking a guy, an older guy, but he's a student teacher at Degrassi. So Paige still wants to be a Volander, even though that it's wrong, and Paige could get in trouble. So Snake is trying to protect Paige. Paige is protecting Olander, and it sickens me that why would you protect this guy? He's the bad guy in the situation, Paige. You're the good person. But I guess Paige just wanted a relationship. I mean, after all, her and Spinner broke off. She had a crappy year in season 4, and that is very underrated. Yes, the time stands still thing in season 4. But another good storyline in season 4 is Paige's terrible year. Like, she had a person be acquitted of raping her, her issues with Spinner, and now with Olander. She had a crappy year. And then she turns gay all of a sudden in season 5 without much warning and all that. I would have loved to see some fallback saying that, okay, well, why is Paige gay and all that? And did she really have feelings for other girls otherwise? I understand that. But with Alex, and Paige seems to treat Alex like dirt. And then Paige goes to college. She has her anxiety attacks. She has to deal with a boy who had HIV and didn't tell her. Paige, I think, is okay because Paige seems okay. And, yeah, Paige just had a character assassination. Season 8, she had a massive character assassination because she's the assistant to a reality star who treats her like dirt. Paige ends up winning a musical role, acts like a diva, gets kicked off, and then thankfully, though, Paige learns to do better and then is Jason Mewes' assistant. Happy, happy, happy. So yeah, that's Paige in a nutshell. She did get her character assassinated, but she's still the queen bee of the graduating class of 2006, honey. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Dunn.